to our call. It is catered to parents who have children in the French program at school, be it the French Immersion program, or perhaps your children are in full French school, or maybe it's something that you are exploring. But if French language learning is the avenue that your child is currently on, then this workshop is for you. So tonight, we are going to dive a little bit deeper into the top 5 reasons why French immersion students fail and how to combat it. So sometimes parents see this and they're like, man, the kids are failing. And guys, yes, they're failing. Our children are in a school system where there isn't always that direct support that's needed for them to get to the next level. And my job is to always equip parents and students and your children, right, with the right tools in order to reverse this narrative. Okay. So we're facing a certain reality. My job, my mission is to reverse that. Okay. So let's hop right in. Thank you to all the parents that are just hopping on. We are getting started. Welcome, bienvenue to our workshop on the top 5 reasons French immersion students fail and how to eliminate that. We're going to combat that. Okay, so here's a little bit about me. All right, so my name is Elise Veckels. I'm the founder here at the French Tutor, and my story is a little bit of an interesting one, okay? It's not a unique one, but it is an interesting one. So in 1989, my family migrated from a tiny island called Trinidad and Tobago. We came to Toronto, Canada, and I was 3 years old, okay? So at the time, we're new to the country, okay? We're new immigrants. And my dad got some feedback from a friend. So I had not started school yet, right? My dad got feedback from a friend. Hey, why don't you put the kids in French immersion school? And the rest is history. So I share that to let you know that I sit in the seat a lot of your children may sit. In that, I do not come from a French speaking background or household or had parents who even grew up in a place where French language instruction was a thing. So everything we do, I went through junior school, through high school, did one of my degrees in French. And the whole point is it is possible. Okay. So you speaking French at home is not a requirement. You having a French background for your children to do well is not a prerequisite. And I just want to share that with you guys to give you some encouragement, some hope, because the journey your kids are on is not particularly one that is the easiest route. I'll be honest. Why choose to do second language learning? It's not easy if you don't speak the language, right? But you want to give your children more access, more opportunity. That was my parents' goal as well. So I sit in front of you guys as the art of possible. And I want to dive deeper into the 5 things I see that I've seen over the last 17 years that is causing French immersion students to fail, but I don't want that to be your child's story. So you're on this call tonight to understand maybe what strategies you can implement to combat those 5 reasons. And like I said, we're going to have 2 of our educators, actual educators in the school systems, okay, who's going to come on this call and you're going to get to ask those questions. And like I said, our community, it's about the real talk. Hey, you ask the real questions, you get the real answer, and we'll use that as your next steps forward. Okay, so let's jump right in. And parents, if you have someone who needs to be on this call, forward them the Zoom link. Too often after the fact, they're like, oh, I have a friend who would have wanted to come, but this is your moment. Okay, so let's get them on the call as well. So here are the top 5 reasons why students fail, and we'll dive a little bit into each one today and then open up the floor for Q&A. So the first one being lack of consistent practice. Secondly, lack of exposure to French speakers. Insufficient parental support. Fourth, limited use of interactive tools. And 5, lack of personalized learning plan. So take your notes as we go. I want you to have things to reflect on. I do want you to ask very focused questions when the Q&A comes. So whatever speaks to you, whatever you want to get a little bit more insight into, please feel free to take some notes. So reason number 1, lack of consistent practice. This is huge. This is so huge because it's something where I think we are so Man, we are so dependent on what that school day is able to do. Okay. I know my parents were guilty of it because guess what? They can't help at home. But I also grew up in a time, guys, where we did not have this great big world of resource. Okay. I grew up in a time where my parents they ordered the encyclopedia pack. Like whoever came to our house and sold the encyclopedia, what is it, package or like there's like a million encyclopedias, right? Alphabetical. Who knows about that? So that's my generation growing up. Okay, the internet came to be, but it wasn't like I was born into the internet. Okay, so inconsistent practice, it leads to a gap in learning. Okay, so you guys may not know this, but just because your child is in an immersion program or in a francophone school does not mean they're being held to practice the language all day long. Sometimes there is an allowance for kids to speak English or be in the playground. And, I say that just because when it is immersion, there does have to be a certain level of immersion before we can fall back and sit back a little bit differently. Okay. So here's the importance of regular practice in language retention. I'm all about, yes, I'm a language girl, but I'm also a numbers girl because numbers matter and we have to make it make sense to everyone. So when someone does daily practice, okay, it is a fact that this can cut fluency achievement time by up to 50%, meaning if you are practicing something all the time, as in every day, you can get to that fluency goal faster, like 50% faster, okay, than someone who's doing it once in a while or occasionally. Without practice, and let's even apply this to something outside of language, without practice, 70% of new information that we transmit to our brain is forgotten in 24 hours. So let's say we learn something new. Let's say we're doing a course in something and we don't practice it in 24 hours. 70% of what was new, it can disappear if we're not actively working or like focusing on it. Okay. We've also seen that students who practice daily score 20 to 30% higher in proficiency tests. So when we're doing different oral examinations, written examinations, the daily habits of practicing show when it comes to actual tests. Okay. And I'll even mention that when when something is being worked on and with our students French is that it's the weaker of the native language that you were born into, it's really important for the retention, the consistency of it, okay? Consistency leads to the retention. So that is where I'm asking parents to put a bit more of a laser focus on the ongoing nature of language acquisition. Okay, it's not a school thing, okay, but I'm going to share about where else we can sprinkle that in. All right. And I guess one more thing. So daily users are 5 times more likely to complete language courses. So there's something about language that can be super defeating if you're not hitting certain milestones. Okay. So, for example, there comes a time in French immersion learning, for example, grade 3 French immersion is a very transitional year, and that's when a lot more writing is required. Writing takes more than just the act of writing. Grammar is so important in French. Knowing your vocabulary to put into those writing structures is key, it's huge. And those who are doing something daily, like 5 times a day, so let's say you're practicing writing because you need to be strong in writing for this school year, they're more likely to complete that year successfully. Okay. Not being dragged through the year, but completing the year with a little bit more ease. So that's what we're wanting for our students. Okay. So here are some easy strategies. I like to give tips that are practical for parents to implement and implement right away. Okay, you don't need to wait till September or anytime after that. These are things you can start doing today or tomorrow. Okay, so First of all, encourage daily reading. So I always say 10 to 15 minutes a day is so much more effective than 1 hour of reading a day. Number one, to ask our kids, and you guys, let's be real, whose child is going to eagerly and with pleasure want to read for an hour a French book that, they're just trying to make it through the summer, and reading French may not be first on their list. Exactly, Janelle. Thank you. So 10, 15 minutes. I always say, even gamify this process, okay? So our kids love Alexa, they love their Siri. Say, hey, at home, tell Alexa, hey, Alexa, set the timer for 10 minutes. So they can have something while, yes, it's 10 minutes that they may not love initially, that countdown is on. So they're reading. Okay, that 10 minutes is going. So start with that, 10 to 15 a day, daily reading, French content of their choice. Okay, do not limit what they are able to choose for French content as long as it is age appropriate. One, meaning comic books are okay. If they want to read, I don't know, a French website, if they want to read a book about dinosaurs in French, that's okay. All right. Secondly, use French in daily routine. So a tip I always give to parents is label, and especially when your kids are very new in the process, label household items in French around your house. Okay. So I like to limit this to about 5 to 6 items a week because we do not want Post-its all over our house. I hope we don't, because vocabulary building comes from association. Okay, so when you're learning a language, I need to know table, table in French, it's spelled the same, but la table is a table. I need to know that for it to be retained. I need to know that une chaise, a chair, is a chair. Okay, we can't just hear une chaise, right? We got to associate it with something, so that this labeling of household items is a very key way. And you'd be surprised, a lot of our more senior students, where we think certain everyday routines and household things are commonplace, they're not, right? So I like to put the focus on the practical, the everyday, right? The everyday speak. We'll learn the more advanced concepts at the right time. Right now, it's about the everyday and being comfortable in that. So consistent practice makes French a natural part of daily life, okay? And it's just sprinkling it in. Just sprinkle it in. They're going to be in school again soon, so sprinkle these things in with that, okay? Reason number two, so lack of exposure. I put native speakers, but I kind of want to use the term exposure to other French speakers, okay? When you're not exposed to other people who are speaking this language, it really hinders your language fluency and pronunciation. So there's not just one way to be exposed to other French speakers. Sometimes we think it has to be this physical, okay, I am sitting in front of someone else who speaks French, or I'm in a group of people who all speak French, but it is about creating or placing your children in environments where French is an active practice, okay? This really accelerates their learning. And in immersion schools, a lot of your children are in French immersion. The reason why the immersion is happening faster or can take place faster is because there are subjects like the math, the science, the history, geo. At one point, gymnase is in French, and it's the constant exposure that is really giving them the various contexts. Okay, it's not just, oh, I have math in French, but I have math in French. You're actively practicing language. There's vocabulary in math that is not math related, right? It's specific to math, but it's used in broader terms of language, right? So this is meant to enhance their vocab, their grammar, their pronunciation, and it leads to higher proficiency. So if you're ever hearing a little grumble of, why is my science in French? Why is my gym in French? It's the immersion piece. Say, hey, this is just making you stronger in language. You aren't perhaps born speaking French, or that isn't the strongest muscle. So we're working on building that, and having those other subjects in French, that is a part of the process. Okay. Now, some strategies. So here's what I want to share with parents. There's so many more French options and resources around us than we may realize. Okay. So joining French clubs, there are tons I have found online. There are local French programs that I see. There's French camps, guys, that are around the city. And it's kind of cool to attend French cultural events. What are French cultural events, Elise? Well, sometimes depending where you live, at the local, like let's say those smaller theaters, they might have a French play that's going on. There may be a French movie that is an option. Of course, once again, age appropriate, but think outside the box. Don't just think of, what can I be doing that's within the box. Okay. There's a world bigger than YouTube. Okay. There's a world that, like I said, depending where you live, there are some in-person touch points you can participate in. And just Google French program, your city, okay, and see what comes up. See what you guys can stop by and explore, and at the library, see what's happening. Okay, keep your eyes and ears open for that. And of course, language apps. So I'm gonna always support a language app because we live in that age where digital is probably the fastest way to connect to other French speakers. And I'll also add in there, make the media mix pretty colorful. Okay, French music, huge. Go on your Spotify, your Apple Music. There are French kid songs, French kid audiobooks. I listen to quite a few audiobook series in French, really cool, very fun to listen to, very animated and exciting how the storytelling goes with French authors, French TV shows. Okay, your kids do not have to understand what's going on. I have, and I've tested this theory. We have students who first year in French immersion, and it's amazing how your kids, the brain is like fascinating. We'll watch, like, let's say a short story in French, and this is my way of teaching comprehension to our kids. And would you know that they're able to say in their own words pieces of what's taking place? So there is something powerful that happens with content children enjoy, how it's retained, okay? How the story plays out. They can put pieces together and have it start to make sense. So don't underestimate short French shows for your children and deeper French content exploration, okay? And think about this. Think about your child understanding this feeling of your child understanding and enjoying a French cartoon or song, laughing and learning like their native speaker. When my kids are laughing in the class because something funny, we watch something funny, I'm like, yeah, like these guys are on their way, right? And that's the impact of regular exposure to native and French influenced environments. Okay. So third reason, okay, so we're flying through these because I want to make sure our Q&A time, it's full time for you guys to go in on the conversation. So reason number 3, insufficient parental support. So I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, okay? Because you guys on this call, this may not apply to you because you're on this call. You're like, let me get all I can to support my child further, okay? So a lack of support and encouragement. So I don't even know how to say this any gentler, okay? But there is something to say that a child's lack of confidence in French and their motivation for the language, it does start at home, okay? Starts at home. Now, that doesn't mean that it's intentional. That does not mean that you are going into a conversation with your child with a negative intention. Okay. What it does mean is very often we pass on our mindsets to our children unknowingly. And that can come from, and I know we're all guilty of it, where we have a meeting with the teacher, with me, with whoever, and we say, oh, I don't speak French at home. We don't speak French. So like I can't help them. Ooh, are they overhearing that too often? Okay. Are they overhearing, well, mommy doesn't speak French, so I can't help you with your homework. I don't know. Like, what did the teacher say? I don't know. Right? Uh, is it language? Even sometimes parents are looking back like, man, I really should have kept learning French because now I can't even help you. Like, I don't know. right? So this kind of speak, okay, like I said, it's never intentional, but that motivation and confidence, it's showing up to our classes, it's showing up to our programs often, okay? The number one thing I want children to feel is confident. If they leave my class and they're never good at French, this is a hot take, that's okay. Your kids need to be confident, number one, because confidence is what number one is required to do well in something. Their vehicle of doing well of something is French. So, yes, that is the effect of it. But I want your kids to feel good about themselves. Okay. I don't want them to be dragging, kicking, and screaming for them to go to school. I don't want their mental health to be affected because they had to go to French school and they absolutely hate it. I don't want that. What I want for your kids are to be confident children. Okay. Confident children become confident adults. And I want that for them the most. Okay. And we're using French as the vehicle where we get them more access, right? But it's those who dare to be confident where that access is going to be granted. All right. And we always see students improve significantly with active parental involvement. So I cannot tell you how important this is. And if you haven't been doing it, it is your right as a parent to ask questions. If you are not seeing homework, that's a thing. If you're not seeing homework, you're like, hey, we don't speak French at home. Go in with that. That's okay for that conversation. We don't speak French at home. What can I be doing at home to provide my child additional support? We're not seeing homework. Okay. That is important. Okay. Uh, Feel free if you have a teacher portal and you don't understand, maybe some feedback, either on an assignment, a test, or sometimes even it's a report card. You're not aware of what does this comment mean? I see something, I see a grade, but I'm not sure what action I can take in order to change a situation. Okay, so you as a parent, please take the time to let the teacher get to know who you are, okay? Active parental involvement. Teachers do appreciate it, I would say sooner than later. So try to establish your face, your email address, okay? That in-person presence, if possible, with the teacher from the onset of September, because that is the serious parents. And I mean, guys, teachers really they do well with parents who approach with the attitude of partnership. Okay, so if you're coming like guns a-blazing, okay, obviously like that's now combative, right? But if you're coming like, hey, I'm excited for my child to start this school year, and we want to make sure that they are positioned well. So, I'll be staying in touch, I'll check in, I probably ask some questions, and that will be in your favor. Okay, so just understand that your involvement does make a difference. So here are some strategies that you can be doing at home outside of the classroom. The first one being engage with French media together. So like I said, I'm big on things that are accessible to us instantly. We have French TV shows now. I always recommend movies or shows with subtitles. There's really cool ones on YouTube where there's even an opposite language. So the words, like the audio, will be in French, but the subtitles are in English or vice versa. So you as mom or dad, you're still not completely lost. You can engage in that type of content with your child. I already mentioned French music, the French audiobooks I will throw in there as well, and have them give their recaps to you. So even if you're not the speaker, just the act of them having a to-do after something is done. Okay, can you summarize what happened here or what happened in the story? Have them get into that habit of consuming to comprehend. Okay, you're not just passively always doing something. Sometimes we do things, we have to approach it with a level of there's a next step. Okay, and our kids are learning that. We want them to continue that habit. Secondly, create a daily French practice routine. So I mentioned this earlier, but this is going to involve that 10 to 30 minutes a day. I put this gap 15 to 30 just because sometimes the older ones can handle a 30-minute a day, and older, I would say grade 5 and up, 30 minutes of reading is something that they can manage through pretty well. The learning apps, Duolingo is still good. I like Duolingo. Duolingo is a great supplement. Okay. I don't believe it is the only route, given that Duolingo, you don't really get to interact with real people. But I believe it's a great supplement for a lot of the theory of the language. Okay. And of course, creating a French learning space at home. So this is a pretty cool one. I would say it comes in handy for a lot of our students. I would say more and more, there's things we can grab and go that are French related. Okay. So I know Costco, for example, has French workbooks. Go and get some, get a French corner, put a workbook there, order some French flashcards, Amazon. Once again, looking for the age of your child and what makes sense for them. French crosswords, like puzzles, okay, word search, things that are easy. You know, you Google it, you can download some. There's French crossword books. Like I said, look online for a lot of these things and have a French corner and get an everyday piece to put there as well. So if you're using a calendar daily, if you're using a weather chart, a clock, okay, making sure that's something that relates to ongoing real life where daily something can be happening, that you have these pieces or one of them to have in the mix of things. So what is the weather today? What is the day of the week? What is today? Jeudi? Is it Thursday? Right? Maybe there's a marker to indicate that, right? And even if you don't buy something that's for this, perhaps it is more something you can create. Okay, just having a French calendar, printing it out, right? Days of the week. What day is it today? It's jeudi. What day is it on tomorrow? You ask, days of tomorrow, vendredi, right? Just having that daily simple habit going, okay? Now, reason number 4, limited use of interactive tools. So we are like, it's like a daily conversation that I have in terms of the power of interactive tools. And I'm going to go with digital interactive tools here. So let me tell you, like I said, I grew up in the age, like I was not born into the internet. The internet came to be when I was in primary school and we had floppy disks with the AOL trial. Who remembers that? Like you were given a limit of the internet and the floppy disk in your computer. Anyways, so that way, like this old school way of thinking, we've got to just release it and release it right now. Because I even share, and a lot of our teachers may even comment on this, our world right now, like it is a digital world. Even at school, there are units, like there's emphasis on teaching our kids how to operate in the digital world, right? Not being able to use a device is actually going to be not in their favor for their future. So yes, we have to balance it, but it's now how to use. What is the purpose of using these devices? Is it to advance, to educate, to progress you somewhere, or is it mindless, right? So we're working towards the education and the progressive nature of how to use devices. So when you are using non-interactive school tools, it's boring, repetitive, and uninspiring, okay? We see our students lose interest so quickly if something is all the way theory, right? And there is no interaction involved with it. So we care about positive learning outcomes, all right? So the whole goal is what is going to make your child retain and really strive in the way they deserve to be. And what we have seen to be true is that interaction trumps anything. When kids are enjoying something, when they're able to have a laugh and something is fun, there's gaming and there's a competition perhaps involved, it's about keeping them interested and excited. Just think about it. They're children, right? It's even back in the day, like clearly it was different because we had to kind of listen and there was consequences if you didn't listen. And that's a whole other conversation. But the whole point is we've got to meet our kids where they are today. This is a age of they have so much more that can catch their attention much faster than we can from an education perspective. So why not make their French learning journey as interactive as possible? Okay. This will help them to retain, like I said, and really develops their skills. So one of the things I want to share here is just stay open-minded to the power of interactive tools, okay? It really boosts student engagement, the motivation, and the learning outcomes. And tools like I mentioned before, Duolingo is great. If you don't have the app, download it for your children. And Quizlet is another great one, okay? And this helps to transform language learning into an engaging and interactive experience. And like I said, the number one thing is for our kids to be confident and motivated to want to keep learning French. All right. So some strategies, some extra ones for you to take note of. Babbel is not spelled right because my computer is very good at autocorrect. So Duolingo, Babbel is Babbel, right? Babel. Okay. Fluent U is a good one as well. There's a lot of games and online resources that I would also say I sometimes don't dump all of them on these workshops because there's different age groups that we're dealing with. Okay. Sometimes your search can be more specific. Look for 6-year-old, 7-year-old, so on and so forth. Okay. And then we can kind of go from there. So now, incorporating technology is really about creating a dynamic experience. So imagine your child, okay? How many of you imagine your child eager to want to do something French related? Isn't that special? Isn't that special where your child will want to log in for their learning app and excited to play games or look forward to our fun Fridays for those who know? And the bottom line is improving their language skills, okay? And if that excitement can be fueled, right, by a certain resource or a certain program they're in, that is the advantage of interactive tools. Okay, your children excited about learning. All right. All right. So number 5, this is the last one. Then it's hopping into our Q&A time. So lack of personalized learning plans. How many times have we seen a one-size-fit-all approach to address, okay, individual learning needs and pace? And I have a little bit of I guess, an interesting place that I sit on this. So obviously, and our teachers can speak on it as well in a few minutes during Q&A, but obviously everyone in every classroom is a different pace. That's the nature of school, okay? So we do have, even growing up, there's kids who might have to get an extra worksheet because they finished the first one too fast. And there's ones who would maybe take their time and maybe even have to take it home because that's the nature of our school system. We want our kids to operate with their peers, but at the same time, we do have to manage. All right, it isn't a one size fit all. So what can I do as an educator to have a little something for everyone? Like it can't be customized, but there can be some personalization to how French learning is done. So we have seen that when we have personalized learning plans, and this is not, like I said, it's not customized. It's not like every child has a different plan, but personalized. If I see and I do it, for example, let's say I know one child is more fluent in the spoken language, I will never speak English to that child. It could be grade 2. If I know they know exactly what I'm saying and can respond, guess what? You're never getting a switch of English. But there'd be another child who mom might have said to me, Elise, they're grade 2. Yes, but we went away for this, or we just started, we moved provinces, and this is what's happening. And the French is so intense, then I know maybe they have to get a little bilingual interaction, but it's not like this whole announcement, right? I might do it really quickly. Do you understand? Okay, great. We're all moving together as a group. Next step. Okay. So visualize a learning plan that's designed for your child. Understand what needs your children have. Like I said, beginning of the school year is coming. Tell the teacher, hey, that's how my child operates. Okay, this is what my child, these are the strengths. This is where I was told they're struggling. And like I said, it's not about them getting this customized program for them based on that, unless there is this recommendation, right, from the class that they have to get a different learning plan. But if they're operating in the larger classroom, then getting ahead of it, saying, hey, this is what I see my child or the feedback I've got in, and see how the teacher adapts that style when you put it out there first. And you see that's the power of personalized education. And I really believe in that. Okay, Cool. So strategies, then we're jumping into Q&A. So creating a tailored learning plan that focuses on your child's strengths and areas for improvement. That is something that I would say is a conversation with the teacher. If a child is taking any external programs, putting it out there, okay? Getting in front of the conversation, okay? And also, I would suggest seeking professional guidance because sometimes a child can operate differently in a different learning environment. So we can't just place them in a box, right? Do an exploration, see what your child gels with, what maybe style of teaching. And you can say, hey, my daughter's teacher last year had this approach and this worked really well for them. They like to get instructions step by step. Seek out the professional guidance, right? And get that guidance to develop a customized or a personal plan for your child. Okay, so those are the 5 reasons, guys. Those are the 5 reasons. I want to make sure that we get to our Q&A, and this is the Q&A, so it's your question time. I want to invite Madame Dana and Madame Anne to come on to video. Let's get our teachers on board. And guys, like I said, our environment is the real talk environment. Okay, the real talk environment where you ask real questions, you get real answers. Okay, so I'm going to ask Madame Dana as well. I think Madame Dana had joined. Yes. Come on down. All right. So, parents, salut, Dana. Welcome. So, parents, I have 2 incredible French educators who are not just educators in the real world, as I say, but they are a part of the French tutor team. We do have Madame Anne, who is a grade 3 French immersion teacher. Dana just recently retired from the is it not TDSB? Is it TDSB? Yeah, the TDSB after 31 years of incredible instruction. So these are seasoned teachers, okay, guys? So raise your hand in the Zoom. We want to hear what specific questions you have. As you know, today we discussed some really poignant reasons why students do not do well, why they fail in the French immersion program, and how we can combat that. So raise your hand, feel free to ask a question, and we will. Good. We're seeing people on mute. So raise your hand in the Zoom or just feel free to start talking if you want to just jump in there.
I don't know if I may.
Ola Lakin, yes, we can hear you. Hi.
Yeah, so thank you for this session. This has really been, you know, eye-opening, and then I appreciate the fact that we get to, have this, ideas of how to help the kids. So my question is about some resource that we can get, right? I'm thinking of I have this book I got for him. It's been a long time, and this one book that I practice with him because it has an online audio, so it helps me to also, be able to listen to the pronunciation and then help him also. It's called French for Kids, Set 1, language together. It comes with pack like 10 small books inside the pack. So I'm thinking of is because I know some of these online resources comes with subscription, either to do that or get the set 2 or of this other one. So my question is, which one do you advise? Should I get set 2 of this or say even set 3? He seems to be enjoying it anyway, but I feel we also have to prioritize and see which direction, because I know, for example, the Duolingo you mentioned, you might have to maybe pay or something at a point, or is it
At a
free?
certain point, right? Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's funny because Duolingo initially was completely free. I think it actually got a lot more credit in the pandemic. So now even Duolingo and Zoom are like, oh, we gotta have paid subscriptions.
Hmm.
But you know what, Lolakin, that's very specific and I can appreciate it. But I would say as well, I would want to see, I don't know all of the resourcing. I don't know if Anne or Dana, you know the French for Kids. I'd have to see it and then probably make a recommendation of if a level two of that is helpful.
Let me try and
Yeah,
open my so that I can show you.
yes.
Let's read it second.
And is it a link or is it like a,
No, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put on my Zoom video. I have it. Can you see this?
oh, cool. Okay, so it's a hardcover, hard copy.
Uh,
Yes, French for kids. I'll have to do some research on it. I will, yeah, there's a million, I'm sure, resources, but I will, because your child is in my class, I'll probably speak to you personally when I dig a little deeper on that one and see what it's about.
okay.
Oh, Dana, your mic is not working. Oh boy. Try to come back in. Try to see if that helps. Try to come back in. Okay. Calsum, I see your hand. After Calsum, we have Janelle.
Hi, Elise. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say that my daughter is enjoying the program. No, like she has no hesitation coming to the class. She really loves Madam Ann. My question was, is there a way to know as a parent if she has improved since the classes? Is there like a pre-evaluation and then a post-evaluation that would tell me, because I don't speak French that
You
much.
need to buy these. Yeah, some of them
Um,
men maybe speak to, yeah, Calsum, was that, sorry, I think you cut out a little
Yeah,
bit.
so I just wanted to know if there is a way to like, see where the child is at before the class, and now this is where the child is at after the class.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, did you want me to take that, Elise?
Take it back.
Like we do a lot of ongoing evaluation, and like with my students in my class, I kind of do like at the beginning, and then I'll follow up with you at the end as well. So yes, if there is improvement, if there's anything that needs to be addressed, that will be shared with you. As much as possible. Yeah.
So Calsum, pretty much stay tuned because next week for our summer program is the last week. There will be some feedback summarized and you will be made aware. From what I hear though, Calsum, your daughter's very strong, but Madame Anne will summarize what
Yes, she is.
very strong. So Madame Anne will summarize and we'll get that to you, okay?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Janelle, go ahead.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So the previous person before kind of asked one of the questions about assessments and stuff, but I also wanted some advice on what I can personally do at home because my child has the attitude, which I'm sure maybe other children do, of like I have to push him to want to pick up a book. Like I have to push him to read. And we have this thing of like, okay, you have half an hour to read this book. I've even done it in just English. I think it's just his approach to reading in general. And it's like he'll just skim through and he'll probably make up something and just tell me whatever he wants to tell me about what he read. But I'm trying to figure out how to I guess get him more engaged in reading because that's really where he's lacking in school. It's not the French speaking so much; it's more the reading that the teachers are concerned about. So I just wanted to know, like, advice from you guys, what you think I could do different.
Madame, après toi.
So, have you found anything like any type of books that he actually enjoys more than others? Or is
Yeah, he's kind of into comics at the moment. Like he likes the comics. I assume because of the pictures, maybe.
yeah, it's very common with boys.
Okay.
Son was it was your son, right?
Yes.
And I find that it's it's either comics with students that are males or nonfiction. Like,
Right.
a book about, if he's crazy about tigers, just go with that. So whatever he enjoys, just go with that. And don't worry about, oh, well, he should be reading a chapter book or he should be just have him read what he enjoys and he will get that practice. And, comics are very popular with kids. It's still reading. It looks different, but it's still reading. And if that's what he enjoys and it's going to make him sit down and read and get that extra practice, by all means. And, maybe then later on, when he gets the bug, maybe he'll go into Harry Potter, who knows. But right now, just focus on what he likes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Dana, ça va? Good.
Madam Anne, sorry. That's a good explanation because my son is the same thing with the reading, no reading. But when you get the non-fiction book, that's what actually help him. Like he find interest in the animals book, those stuff. Like he's very interested in that. But like the non-fiction, like just to read,
Yeah,
no interest.
It's pretty typical with my little boys in my class. I find the same thing. Parents have approached me and say, oh, he won't read anything. I'm like, what about a comic book? Well, I don't really want him to. I'm like, you know what? Just have him read that. If that's what he wants, he's still reading. So, one battle at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I see. Thank you for that, Chanel, contribution. So, Samantha's asking two questions. So, do schools usually offer extra resources? And secondly, how to handle the frustration that comes from low confidence in the language? Dana, it's a big one, but maybe just give a little insight.
Okay. Number one, I think that it comes from how the child, well, how French is, I guess, talked about at home. That's one thing. I think start from the home, okay? And if it's something positive, and then to basically add to it and also diminish all the fears and the frustration or the concern, and basically to reassure your child, you know what? I'm there with you. I'm there with you. And I keep saying to all the parents, all my parents, you are in French immersion too. So we're all learning. So it's not just, the child alone in that, on that, battlefield, but essentially it's everyone. I think that from a teacher's perspective, I really appreciate when a parent is really upfront and honest with me. Talk to me about your child's strength or struggles or whatever. I need to know those things. And I utilize those kind of, that information is really valuable because then, you know what, it helps me to kind of, reassess the delivery of the program.
Yes.
Delivery of the program, because you need to know your audience. And sometimes, and unfortunately, not all teachers, I don't want to put that on my colleagues, but I'm just being honest here. We don't always tell the truth about the student for all kind of political reason. Okay, we don't call a cat a cat. So, and I think that we need to address those things. And I think that when you know exactly the struggle, then we can focus on solution. Then we can, and also it doesn't matter as a teacher or the parent what you say to your child. It has to come from within. It has to come from within. So they have to feel that, and then you have to kind of create that structure around your child, but somehow it has to come within. And then every time they manage to overcome a challenge, that's how they become more resilient. Mm-hmm. That's how you build confidence. Not by telling a child, embellish truth. That's not always helpful because eventually they will have to deal with it. Okay. So, and also break it down small. Let's just take it a day at a time. I think often people see like the big picture and they're overwhelmed and the kids are overwhelmed. No. Let's break it down. Okay, one thing and then address one thing at a time and you build on it and you build on it. Just like being in a wall, right? You start by, one brick and then you add another layer.
Yes.
So But then again, I keep saying to parents, you have to be also consistent. Children, okay, it's not what you say, it's what you do. So as a parent, you have to be consistent too. The homework, I mean, you have no idea the notes I get for why it's not done. And I'm flexible. I understand. Like, listen, I understand goldfish died yesterday. I get it. Okay. But what I mean by that is we cannot always make all kind of excuses. You know what I mean? So what happened is a lot of students, especially when you're learning in the second language, it's so important to be consistent every day. If you skip, then you have gaps. And those gaps are hard to fill up. Like it's hard to basically, just somehow magically it will just go away. No, it will just stay. So if we want to avoid that, we have to be consistent. And especially when things are difficult, especially when they're difficult, because that's how kids learn. They learn how to overcome. And that is a very important skill because it doesn't matter if it's French immersion or math or
Yes.
whatever it is the same approach. The same approach. But those are the kind of things like just be disciplined, consistent, ask questions when you don't understand. You have so many kids, they're so either afraid to make mistakes, and also they are, or sometimes the parents put, unrealistic expectation on them. Accept the reality of your child. That's it. Accept the reality, not what your child you wish your child to be, what your child is. And then from wherever they are, this is where you can move them forward. That's what I would say. What I would say. And also, you know what? It's a mix of, effort and finding joy in it. Effort and joy has to come together. And then again, you know what? They will find the joy after they overcome something difficult. I know somebody they just want like, no, if things are just a bit challenging, oh, no. If you basically keep overly protecting your child will never learn how to deal with difficult situations. Also, something very important, relationships. I don't like my teacher. Or things like, I think my teacher doesn't like me. No. I think that sometimes it's about perception. So let's be positive. Let's be positive. And then, that's why I keep saying, you know what? I don't have time to dislike you, sincerely, So let's focus on just, being part. And sometimes if I say something you need to improve, it's nothing personal. I'm just looking at something objectively. I'm saying, listen, you need to, for example, read over. You need to edit more. To give, and also, as I said, focus on strategies that we just keep, and then if one thing doesn't work, try something else. But ultimately is to find what works for you, and also I think children needs to to develop this awareness of how they learn, because sometimes in order for even to address any situation with a teacher, if you don't know how your child learn or your child doesn't know how he's or she is learning, it's a bit difficult. And this is something very important because then they can actually, that kind of skill can be, literally put in every single subject, the same approach. If you're more like a visual learner, you need visual. I have to say, this is my little theory. Most kids nowadays are visual learners. They're visual, and especially in the second language, if we want to bypass the translation, the ongoing translation, because the visual, suddenly they know exactly what it means without translating constantly.
That's good. Dana, hey, Samantha says thank you because gems were being dropped. And it's true, right? It's nice, I think, to hear a lot of great things were mentioned in there. And it's guys, it's to empower. And like I mentioned in our presentation, it's about partnering with your child's teacher from the on. You want to be the teacher's bestie. You do. Because when you come to the table and you are sincere and honest, like this is where my kid's at. They're not the best reader, but they're really good at speaking. Like, say it, right? We want, like Madame Dana was saying, you want to lead with the honesty so that now the tailoring can happen in the classroom. And that's huge, especially for starting the school year and starting it well. Very good. I want to ask any other questions from, I know some people were writing in the chat, but those were addressed. Anything from anyone that wants to unmute while we still have both Anne and Dana on with us live? Anyone have anything pressing they've wanted to ask about in relation to what we're discussing, or just maybe generally?
Something, I think it was a question we earlier on when I left regarding resources. I think
Yes,
to me, any resource is good. Any resource is how you use it. Is how you use the resource. How you use the resource. Unfortunately, I can honestly say that it's not even or equal in every school. Like not every school with their French immersion is the same. You
true.
know. So I remember I thought at one particular school, I mean, wow, unbelievable, endless resources. And then you go to another school, nothing, absolutely nothing. It's up to the teacher to build their bank of resources. So, and I think that as a parent, I would, anything. I mean, utilize the public library, you know what I mean? Utilize it doesn't mean you have to actually spend money all the time. It's not about spending money. It's about, and also even online, there's a lot of free things available that you can use. Okay.
Okay.
Even for example, like TFO, they have a lot of things online. When I use like for like reading, Bookily, it's free. I mean, those are kind of so many things that parents can access, and then to enrich your child's experience, because sometimes they can get out of school that, especially if the French immersion is fairly new. So it means that the librarian teacher probably doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? Like doesn't know anything, or doesn't know, or maybe there is nothing, literally, So, and I think as a parent, you have to also get involved in your school. Like if your school has nothing and then you want French immersion to flourish, get involved. Get involved, like parent council, raise money, raise funds, because often the budget is shrinking every year. There's
Yeah,
no money. So essentially, as a parent, just uh, be a champion of of education and be involved. I mean, I really encourage parents to be, to be active, to be
that's
proactive.
awesome. That's great. And I know any other parents, like I said, feel free. We're just wrapping up, but and anything to add on how a parent can start off this upcoming school year with a bang?
I think your point of, creating that partnership with the teacher is the number one thing. Because you start the year well and it will carry you all the way till June. And, keeping it positive for yourself as a parent and for your child, because your kids are always listening to what you're saying. So if you start saying negative things about your your your
Yeah,
child's teacher, they will think negatively, and you don't want to go there. So just create a positive relationship with your child's teacher will go miles and miles to help everyone. So yeah.
amazing. Amazing.
I I absolutely agree. And also, even volunteer. I mean, I volunteer at my daughter's school because sometimes, you know what, it's not what she's saying to me. I need to experience myself. So
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Oh, okay. Just an example. I mean, she's going to be in grade 9, but the school where I was teaching, we had an issue with a cell phone. Oh, cell phone in the classroom. But at her school, she said, Mommy, no, no, no. At my school, we all have to drop our cell phone in a box. I'm like, really? I went there. I'm like, yes, it's no question that bing, bing, bing. That's it. No fighting with the teacher over the cell phone. But then again, I need to see myself to actually see what it's actually can happen when students can actually follow the rules.
It's
And
possible.
also, yeah, and also as a teacher, you don't want to fight with, TikTok and and you
Yeah.
it's just not happening. So, and I think that parents, be consistent, and also sign those agendas, read the notes, the emails that the parents sent to you. Don't just ignore them, okay? And then if you don't understand, and also I'm more like a personal kind of person. I like, this kind of conversation, like in the hallway or outside, like when the bell rang. And you know what? A lot of things can happen during those conversations. It's amazing. You can solve so many problems in one conversation at the bell, and then it's effective. It's, oh yes, absolutely, done. Move on.
That's
So
good.
yeah, communication is everything.
Oh, right on. So parents, you're hearing it for yourself. This is real, like I said, the real talk from our real teachers, because it's important, right? Sometimes you don't get to have this little inside. It's almost like the pillow talk of our French immersion world. So this is what that is. And yeah, I'm gonna just, yeah, there's no more questions left in the chat, but I did drop my link. I know some parents, if you are new to our ecosystem. So I did drop a link in case you wanted to book some time one-to-one to chat with me. So that is in the chat. Okay. Feel free to book time. And if you had a special, even a special scenario, you want to talk to me about exactly what your child's French journey is like and what recommendations could be made, then that is the link to do so. Uh, final questions, final questions. Okay, so if that is it, we are going to wrap here. I want to thank everyone for coming out. And, I think we had the best time. This was a sweet time together. I just want to say that it is about the consistency. This is reiterating what we discussed today, all right? And the patience, that's what's key in helping your child in French immersion. So just make sure that your job is to find the resources, find the opportunities where that learning experience can be enjoyable. And your job is to be the cheerleader along the way. Okay. I always say that it's a three-part success story. Your child stands in the middle, your French educator stands on one side, and you stand on the other side. And it's just walking your child along the journey of their French experience. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys, and with your continued support, your kids will walk this journey, and it won't be as rigorous as maybe it previously was, or you think it might be. There's a great bright future for them in the program with the right steps taken. So thank you for joining. I want to wish you guys a good evening, a good night, and we'll hope to hear from you soon. Take care now.
All right. Au
Thank
revoir,
you.
tout le monde.
Thank you.